Hi, I'm Sheila, and I'm here to help you be their parent. We've been working through a series about school readiness and things you can do ahead of time to help your kid. In Season 2, Episode 3, we have ideas for all students, kinder through 12th grade. And then in Season 2, Episode 4, which happens to be last week's episode, it is all about kinder through 2nd grade students. This week is for our students in 3rd to 5th grade. So if you haven't listened to last week's episode, you might want to go back and listen to make sure your 3rd to 5th grader has most of those skills, or at least is making good progress in them before you tackle any of these. All right, so for our elementary students, here are some things you will want to work on to help them feel more confident as they start school in the fall. One of the things that I have often seen is that children don't always know their parents' real names. They know mom and dad, but they don't know mom and dad's real names. So make sure they know your names and phone numbers, and that they should also know your home address. Now, that also goes with a conversation about the appropriateness of who to tell that to, but in an emergency, those pieces of information are really important for your child to know. The next thing they should know how to do is tie their own shoes. You're like, Sheila, you already talked about that for kinder through 2nd grade. I know. You'd be surprised. I had a lot of 3rd to 5th graders the last couple of years of teaching STEAM that couldn't tie their own shoes. And once they hit about the 3rd grade, if they asked me, I was often busy, and so I would just say, find a friend. And they usually did, but if they got really stuck, then I would do it for them. But they just need to learn how to do that. And if you don't have time and it's not a priority for you, then you need to buy shoes that don't need to be tied. All right. So make sure they get some practice with that. And then start helping them to learn how to keep track of their own things. And a way you could do that in the summer months, especially, is like if you go to a community pool, then you give your kid a list of things that they should have to take to the pool. And then you check in with them the first few times. Like you have your towel, you have your goggles, you have the sunscreen, all those things. And then as the summer progresses, you just tell them, you need all your pool things. And the expectation is they should know exactly what that means, and they should know where their things are and be able to bring them along. I know that's asking a lot of a 3rd grader, so that might be something that you practice and just continue to help them with as a 3rd grader. But then by the time they're a 5th grader, they should be able to do all of that on their own. So practice that with them. Another thing that would be a great skill for them to learn is to write down important dates. Now, some schools, my school has in the past given the kids a planner for the school year. Some schools do that, some don't, and parents provide a planner. But giving your child a calendar so that they could write down picture day as soon as they know about it, even though, the school sends stuff home, would really help them to understand that they need to be responsible for some of the things that is information and from school, and relaying that to their grown-up. That would be a great thing. So you could have a family calendar that is visible for everyone and have your child write down the dates for their sports practices and games, or give them the information and help them write it down when they have medical appointments. All the things of how to use a calendar appropriately and to mark it so that way they know that they are communicating it with others. Now, you could also do this all digitally, but, ultimately having something as a visual is a great reminder of, oh, that's coming up. And even if you put it on the fridge, so then you don't forget that tomorrow's picture day, or it's the field trip and we need to make sure we pack a lunch, those kinds of things. So if you can practice that over the summer, that would be super helpful. Now, this next one, I know some people are going to probably push back on, and that's okay. So hear me out. You need to listen to your child read. And I know they're 3rd to 5th graders. That seems silly. That's something you do with little kids. I get it. However, you need to still listen to them so you can make sure they are continuing to grow in their skills and that they are proficient in their reading. because you need to understand that in kinder through second grade, school is all about learning how to read. And then a change happens in third grade where we start reading to learn. So listening to your child read a book and then asking them questions about it would help them grow their comprehension skills, which is going to impact how well they can do in school when they're having to read text to understand something. So keep listening to them read. One thing, a friend of mine, she teaches high school math, but she said our kids in third to fifth grade and in junior high need to know their multiplication tables. And I know everybody's always intimidated, the new math, new math, new math. I get it. But there are ways to still practice math facts. And you can find games online. There's a variety of them. Some of them you have to pay for, some are free. You just have to look around. But you can do that. I also shared a game that you could play with a deck of cards and practice your math facts that way. It's on YouTube. I'll post a link to it in the show notes so you can go watch it if that is something you're interested in. It's really important that they can do multiplication because it's really going to help them out as they get older and have to do harder math things. So, for example, they're going to have to learn how to find area, perimeter, and volume. And being able to multiply fluently greatly impacts the ability to do it and to do it well. They might understand the concept of area or perimeter or volume, but if they can't multiply, they're always going to have the wrong answer. So helping them practice is still good. You can even get flashcards. I know the dollar store often has them. So do the things to help practice so that they can be successful. And then one thing that came up when I asked all my friends about skills kids need, and it was across the board, is respecting materials in a classroom. And that means sharing them, putting them away when they're done, even throwing away trash. I can't tell you how many times in my classroom I had table groups and there'd be a piece of trash on the table or under the table. And I'd say, hey, someone pick that up and throw it away. And everybody's, not mine, not mine. I'm like, doesn't matter. It's your group. Somebody pick it up and throw it away. So even that of being responsible and helping out is huge. And then one thing that kept coming up often is don't write in textbooks. I guess there's a lot of doodling happening in upper elementary all the way into secondary. So teach your kids that if it's a shared material, it's not theirs to write in. Workbooks are, and those usually have blanks, but if it's a book that the teacher's like, you're going to share this, or I need it back for my next class, don't write in it. I know. It seems obvious, but apparently it's not. I know the transition from being an older kid, from being the younger kid, it's challenging. And they are learning so many new skills at school, but they're also growing and maturing. However, they're still a kid and they still want to do kid things. So as you listen through this and maybe you go back and write a couple things down, only pick a few things to work on at a time. Help them to feel more comfortable doing them. Don't overwhelm them with it. Don't expect perfection. They should have some fun doing it, and it's a chance to practice, not be perfect. You are their cheerleader as they are learning all of these things. If you have any questions or need a sounding board, you can message me on Instagram at BeTheirParent. And if you found this episode helpful, follow, set up automatic downloads, review, and share. I'd appreciate it.